Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob O. Potzner, and have I got a fun show for you today. This is a show which is being done remotely, and yesterday I had my first show in 5 years in the studio. We had taken a pause from being in the studio at Comcast from COVID and then a post-COVID time period. So I'm back on remote, and that's good because my guest is one of my most special guests and friend, Michele Phillips, and we're going to have a show that's going to be a little bit interesting and very different from our typical shows. Before I tell you about that, I can't help but mention what a great day it is for our world today, because shortly before the show began today, we have a new Pope, Robert Francis Provost. I'm not Catholic, but I respect the protocol of appointing a new Catholic Pope. And this gentleman, who will be Pope Leo XIV, is American-born, the first American-born Pope. And I wish the world happiness and health. And I believe, so subtly perhaps, that this is a great time to have an American, the first American, be the Pope, because what's going on in our country now, maybe having a Pope from America, from Chicago, may be very, very useful. So having said that, you also will note that there's no suit and tie on for me today, because we're going to be doing a very interesting show. Michele, how are you today?
I am fantastic, Bobby O. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And also, you should know that I'm in my home studio, but my grandson's a 3-year-old child who will probably be in and out a few times, so don't be shook by that. Now, Michele, for those of you who don't know, is an awesome, awesome lady who I met several years ago and is a very close friend. She's an author. She's a lecturer. She is just a wonderful lady. And one of the books she wrote, and she has a new book coming out in July, the one I have is called Happiness is a Habit. And one of her habits that she has in her book is called habit number 38. I'm surprising you, Michele.
I know, I'm waiting.
Habit number 38, which says, say yes to adventure and leave your comfort zone. And doing the show today, we're going to be co-hosting, Michele and me. And for this show, I'll be asking her some questions, but she's going to be also interrogating me. And I hope she's as gentle with me as I am with her. And in this chapter 38, or habit 38, which I've probably read more recently than she has, she talked about leaving in her comfort zone and going to Europe with people she didn't know and doing various different things. And she says, in order to have these experiences she describes, you have to learn how to leave your comfort zone, and guarantee you that while you still gain from leaving that zone will be priceless. So today, I'm leaving my comfort zone. I'm letting Michele Phillips ask me questions along the way. Welcome, Michele. How's that for a surprise, huh?
That is a surprise. This is on the fly. So thank you for having me. I'm excited for this opportunity to, do it a little differently.
Now, Michele, we were prepared to talk about a topic that you had lectured previously about. What is that topic?
Yeah, so my new book, and what I'm really talking about now, so Happiness is a Habit, came out in the end of 2013, 2014. So anytime you write a book, you grow. And I've grown so much since then. And I've had, during COVID, I always say I had my second huge spiritual awakening. So the new book, which is the topic we'll talk about today, is what I call Write Your Outcome. So leaving your comfort zone, whether you leave your comfort zone or not, life is a series of ups and downs, right? Nobody goes up, 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 up. People go, you take a step up, you take 2 steps back. And the gift is in riding the ups and downs. So that's what I'll be talking to you about today, because it doesn't matter the events that have happened to you. You still have the pen in your hand, so to speak. You're still the author. You still get to write your outcome. So even if you lose somebody you love, you get divorced, you lose your job, something happens that you didn't want, you still get to write the outcome and the ending. So today I'm going to question you on, how you got to where you were. Was it by happenstance, or did you write your outcome? Like, what were your thoughts? And we'll walk through some of the steps to write your outcome.
Michele, do we want to show one of those slides that we have? And perhaps Jonathan, my director, can put one of the slides up that we had.
If you throw the slide up, it'll really give the viewers why you would even want to use Write the Outcome.
Okay. I don't know if we had some technical problems in that regard. Okay. So I got to know from Jonathan, it's a technical issue, so we can't actually show that.
Okay.
But you can run with the theme as you go. So take it.
Well, let me just say some of the things that are on the slide, and then I'll start asking you some questions. So, first of all, this method is really best used anytime you want to shift how you're feeling, you want to change the results you're getting, or step into new possibility, because it puts the power in your hands. So when something happens maybe in your life that you don't want to happen, or something's happening, you want to create space between what's happening and what you want your desired outcome to be. So there's a lot happening in the world right now. There's a lot happening in the workplace. There's a lot happening. Whoever's listening, there's probably a lot happening in your life right now that you don't control. But even though you don't control everything that's happening, you still have the power to control how you write the outcome. So, Bobby O, I'm going to ask you, maybe some outcomes you've written in your life in the terms, when it comes to goals, so write the outcome works for long-term goals, but also just how you want your day to go. So let me ask you two questions. First question,
Go ahead.
Are you a goal setter? Do you write down your goals, or did you ever?
Absolutely, I do and have.
So tell us your process.
From a young age or now?
Both. I'd love to hear how it's evolved a little bit.
I think the first goal I had was to not screw up my bar mitzvah.
I love it.
I was 13 years of age, and we're conservative Jews. And when you're 13, you have a bar mitzvah. And in those days, some students would only read 3 portions of the Torah on their bar mitzvah. Others would read 7. Of course, being Bobby O, I decided to read 7 portions. And I studied for many months with the rabbi to learn the portions. And the rabbi I had when I was very young, Rabbi Gluck, left right before the synagogue, right before my bar mitzvah. And so we had this Rabbi Lovins, and I was the second bar mitzvah candidate. And when you're reading the Bible for the bar mitzvah, they don't have vowels. If you've ever seen Hebrew, it's easy to read with the vowels, not just the consonants. So I did. You had to always do a prep show, like you and I typically do, Michele, but did not do one for today. You have to do a prep procedure the Monday before your bar mitzvah, and I was horrible. And the rabbi called me in and said, if you don't improve on the Thursday second prep show, you're not going to do your bar mitzvah portion. Mm-hmm. So I set a goal for myself that I was going to do a perfect, not a good, not an excellent, but a perfect presentation on that second prep show on the Thursday before the bar mitzvah. I did a great job and was able to have my bar mitzvah with the new rabbi. So I guess the goal I always typically set is, I always set my goals a little higher than I may be able to achieve, and then work my butt off to try to achieve those. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yeah. So it's really a good point. So without a target, we miss. But when you have a target, even if you come short of the target or you exceed the target, at least you have a target. So before that Monday, you didn't really have a target. You were kind of winging it. And then before Thursday, you created a target. So write the outcome is a little like goal setting, but what we're going to expand it is it's not just for long-term goals, it's for every day. How do I want to feel today? How do I want to get a good night's sleep? So we'll talk about it a little more. So tell me how you're using goal setting in your life now, or how it's evolved.
How am I using goal setting in my life now? That's the question. You can see a lawyer's repeating the question because he's trying to think of the answer of the question you just gave. I think I'm trying to do a better balancing of professional and personal life. How about that one? Because as a lawyer, I just, as you know, Michele and others on the show know that I've been involved with a 1.5-year trial that went 45 days, and the decision has just come out, and that meant working at least 10 hours a day, at least 6 days a week. And so some of the personal things didn't always get done. I did find time to do my TV show, of course. So that, so there's more of a balance than perhaps I have had recently of personal and professional.
Perfect. So let's take it, let's use the process. Let's take it one step further. And if you wanted to create a month of balance, personal and professional balance what month we're in May. So in June, if you could describe to me, what would June look like if you were spending more time on your personal life? And just, you can use big sweeping ideas, but if you just had to have some fun with me right now and say, let's pretend it's July 1st and you're back on the show and you're saying, oh my gosh, Michele, I can't wait to tell you how good I did on my outcomes in June. Let me tell you what happened.
I drove 3 hours to Long Island to visit Michele Phillips and Gary, her husband, to have a good time. I would say smelling the roses more so. And don't think I don't smell the roses, but I'm going to, you never know how I've lost some friends very recently, as you know, unexpectedly. So you never know what turns life are going to take. And if I died tomorrow, I would die happy. Not that I want to die tomorrow, but I'd die happy because I think I've had a very lucky life. I've stepped in, what's the word I'm not going to say, and been very lucky, very fortunate. And so I just want to continue that path.
So I'm gonna squeeze it a little, like get more specific. So if you had the whole month of June, right? So we have the big picture, right? You're spending more time with loved ones, you're smelling the roses, which is perfect. But now give us some more, and we're just having fun here. So just play with this. If you had like this blank slate, all this, time in the month of May coming, what could you do with it?
It's harder to be the recipient of the questions than it is to ask the questions, Michele, but you're being very kind. I have some very close friends who we used to visit every year, who live in Topsail Beach, North Carolina. So if they're watching the show today, it's not a hint for an invitation, but I wouldn't mind going down and visit them in the Carolinas and doing some trips down there. I wouldn't mind going back to the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame, which I've been to once. And so if you're a baseball fanatic like I am, I wouldn't mind doing that. And spending some time with, I have one grandson's 3 1/4, and the other one is 4 months. So spending a little bit more time with them would be good also. So that's 3 of many, many, many things that I would do. And I guess 4th would be, as you know, I recently got an award of some type from the Bar Association. And I want to perhaps do more of the kinds of things for which the award was given, to sort of, if I did that much to get an award, well, my God, I'm going to do double that to sort of expand on the things that I got the award for. Does that all make sense to you? Am I getting a B+?
Yes. And first of all, congratulations on the award. That is amazing because you do a lot for the community.
Thank you.
So if we take that now, and I love what you're saying, and we take that and we write the outcome. So you said some really good things, right? Spend some time with your grandkids, go visit your friends in Topsoil. I think you said Topsoil, what it was called. Do some more community service work. So now you literally took out a pen and a journal and just wrote a story, like almost like a make-believe essay. It's June 1st and May was an amazing month. I called up my friends in Topsoil and they invited me to spend the weekend with them. And I contacted my daughter and we put 2 play dates where we went to the park. And so you literally write it down. There's something about the power of the pen, right? We've always heard the power of the pen. What does that mean? And when you're writing something, you are engaging 4 out of your 5 senses. You're kinesthetically writing, you're saying it to yourself, you're seeing it, and you're hearing it. So you're really bringing clarity to what you're doing. And people that write things down are 98% more likely to do them than people who say, I hope I have more free time next month, and I hope to spend more time with my friends and family. So the power of writing it down is what's going to change things. And then once you write it down, the realistic part of it, how does it make you feel writing it down? So if someone said, so if you said to me, oh, I'm going to take 3 weeks off, and you wrote that down, and then you really know that's BS. You're not going to take 3 weeks off, but you might take 3 days off or 2 weeks. Because then once you write it down, you want to bring up is there any resistance in your body? And you want to work through that so your outcomes start to come to fruition versus just having them be hopes and wishes. How does that sound?
That makes very big sense. And I'll tell you, there's two things I was thinking as you speak. And you and I are so similar that as we're talking, we're thinking of 8 more things. We could do an 8-hour show and it wouldn't be finished. One thing is that when I have my clients, if they're going to go to trial or if they're having a procedure, contracts, whatever, I require that they write things down. I hate to have them just tell me on the phone. Texting's verboten. Can't text me because people, in my view, if you write it down, you think it through more so. If you send an email, you think a little bit less, but a little bit more. But texting, you can be sitting who knows where and just texting. So I make the clients write things down, and it's not for me, it's for them. And I would say 9 out of 10 complain. Oh, Bob, you know what I'm. No, the answer is when you write it down, it'll stick to you more. And remember, some of us are visual learners. We're all different kinds of learners. So the writing the thing down, I think, is important. The second thing is when I was in college and law school, I had roommates and friends who would sit there and wouldn't write down one note. They would just sit there and cerebrate. At Yale undergraduate and Duke Law, they would just cerebrate and they would have it down. Me, I'd write down every word the professor said. And then after class, I get my little yellow notebook and circle and write notes and whatever. And that's how I thought things through. So what you just said rings true. And it's funny because Michele knows me very well. And I know Michele very well. And she was probably not at all surprised at the answer I just gave to you.
Well, that's perfect example. I love it. It's a pre-planning, and people don't realize how important it is. And I love what you said about it. It's not for me, it's for them. So what I want people to even see even further is it does bring them clarity. And it also gives them, it starts to point their attention in the direction they want to go. So most people plan their vacations, and I say to them, why do you spend so much time planning a vacation? And they go, oh, it's important and it's my time and I want to get the most out of it. And I'm like, don't you want to plan your life? Don't you want to get the most out of your life? So when you start writing the outcome down, your life starts going, and you're writing what you want before it's true. So the other good example I love to give, Bobby, is I call it setting the table. So any holiday, or you're having a dinner party, anyone listening on Friday night, you usually set the table ahead of time, right? You bring out the nice china or silverware, you put flowers, you do something because you're anticipating a good time. But you're not even, the dinner hasn't happened yet. So writing the outcome is almost setting the table for your life. So while we use it for vacation, you use it for a law, if you have to get up in front of court, you use it for planning. I want people to use it every single day. Before you go to sleep at night, what kind of sleep do you want to have?
Do you
want to have a good night's sleep?
Michele, is that if you and I never go into court together, but if I ever had a trial, I always have a trial notebook. And in my trial notebook, I don't write down the questions. Some lawyers write down the questions. I write down themes that I want to get across. And when I'm in the trial, now here's my secret. Shh, don't tell anybody. I don't really look at the stuff I wrote in my trial notebook. It's really for me to prepare for it. But then what I'll do at the end of the trial, if I have a witness A who's just been done examining, I'll then go back and say, Your Honor, may I have a moment, please? And I'll check off and say, oh, I forgot to ask this question. So I do the thing you say about the planning, and I check it off as going. One thing I want to say to you was, although we've talked about the writing things down, I think people nowadays don't do enough, do too much written communication. For example, if I want to tell you something wonderful about you, woke up last night, had a great thought about you. I think if you send a text, why do people ask people on dates and texts, for example? I think you're better off with a phone call. That's another kind of topic to sort of decide the best methodology to convey messages. Any thoughts about that from your end?
Well, yeah, I feel like that's a whole other topic, but yeah, everybody, I think knowing your audience is important. So some people like text, some people don't like text. So, and it's always, like you said, being in the studio yesterday, being face-to-face was way more satisfying than being on a phone call or being on Zoom, because we are human beings and we need connection. So I think we do miss a lot of connections, especially people are always wearing their earbuds or they're not, we miss a lot of what I call micro moments of happiness. So
I didn't
Tell me
invent
how you, what I want, I had a question that when I'm going to go back to the other thing. So
okay.
what I'm hearing you say is preparing is what's made you successful, right? Preparing for court, preparing your clients. So I'd love to transition that and ask you, how does that play out in your personal life? Does it, or, how does that show up?
How does it show up my personal life is the question. Well, when I was on the Board of Education for 15 years, I would, have notes about what I want to do. And if I have a phone call, like, for example, when you and I have our pre-prep shows, which typically last 45 minutes or so, I'll have some notes of things I want to get to. So I guess I'm a notey.
Yeah. Well, so it's a benefit to you. So I think it's now asking yourself, can you expand that to other areas of your life? And do you want to?
Yeah, you want to, because sometimes, spontaneity is wonderful, right? Today wearing a black blouse again, so I couldn't prepare to say I love black on you, for example, hypothetically.
Yeah.
So you want to be spontaneous, but on the other hand, sometimes in what I do for a living, and because I'm a lawyer, even if you're going to a baseball game or a basketball playing or shooting hoops or whatever, people still think of me as a quote lawyer. You're never out of that mask. So I've learned that words are important, and when I see someone, they say, "Oh, Bob, I have a little question for you. It'll take you 2 seconds," right? I still have to my lawyer's hat on, because even though they're just friends, someone called me yesterday, can't tell you about it, who wanted me to give some information. Hi, Thomas. I'm on TV, Thomas. You want to say hello?
Hello.
Okay. A little interruption. This is Thomas. Okay. Thomas, see you later. Okay. Bye. Bye. Thomas just got a new toy and he brought me his toy he brought. Sorry, guys. So in any event, you want to be spontaneous in different things that you're doing. But this is the airplane he just got. Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you. That's because he was.
Hi, Thomas.
Thomas, bye. He's actually being potty trained, and when he does the right thing, he gets a little toy. Okay. In any event, so the answer is you want to be spontaneous, but sometimes you do need to have your thoughts together, because people always have me with my mask of being a lawyer on. So you got to be careful. But I much prefer spontaneity.
So you said something before, and I love it. So it's like the line between spontaneity and scheduling. And I like when you said earlier, you said I stepped in it, but I would beg to differ that you've thought things through. You had a plan, you followed your plan, you executed it. And when things didn't maybe go your way, you wrote a new outcome. So, you've been successful. You just won this fabulous award. I know all the menschy things you do just for people on a regular basis. So I'm going to ask you, was that something you consciously think of that you're going to do, or these things that was it happenstance, or was it more well thought out, or someplace in between?
Well, the person who wrote the speech about me when I got the presentation was a lawyer I know very well, who's a superb lawyer, Patty Cruz. And as I heard her, and I think I sent you the speech that she wrote, I was sort of stunned at the things that I did that I was being praised for, like being on the Board of Education. This show and was mentioned on there, and a lot of things I have done. And I'm saying, everybody does those things. So why am I getting the award? So it wasn't ever planned that I'd be on the Board of Ed for 15 years, do shows with lovely people like yourself and Jonathan and Candy, my directors. I guess it's part of a plan of, I'll say this. My grandfather, we had a bakery business. We had the oldest bakery in Connecticut from like 1974. They closed it down, going back to 50 years. So let's say 1920, whatever. And my grandfather, I only never met him because I was 3 months old when he died. But the stories about how during the Depression, he would get flour from the government, whatever, and he would make bread and give it away for free. Mm-hmm. My father, who was a tough guy, very tough guy, he took over the family bakery business, and he was a volunteer fireman at the Echo Host Fire Department in Shelton, and he was involved somewhat politically, but not as much as I have been. And he was part of the Jewish war veterans, and he was in the Navy, and so I guess you can say that I grew up in a family. I don't drink alcoholic beverages except on Passover. My parents never really drank, so I guess the influence of your family, and you have a great, wonderful Italian family. And Italians and Jews, we're like this, right? We're so similar. Yeah. So I guess having your family, having your family model is helpful. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's sort
No,
of.
you did, and you bring up a good point because you and I did have a pretty good background, and our families do influence us. But there are some people that didn't have a good family upbringing, so that's the point of write the outcome. It's you could. I always use the example in my class. A man could say, "I don't drink because my dad didn't drink," but the brother could say, "I do drink because dad drank," or
Right.
so it could go both ways, the influence. So people that maybe came from less than loving households, the beauty of the write the outcome method is it's never too late to rewrite, your future. You can't go back and rewrite the past, but it's really nice to hear how your grandfather. I love even that you didn't even know him, right? But the stories were so powerful of what a good person he was and how he was sharing the flour, and then your father. So is there anything you would say that you're doing now that you kind of, I don't know, had a change of mind later in life that you said, I want to do it different, or this is part of Bobby O versus that didn't come from your parents?
We only have 1 minute left in this show, so let me try to think of the answer to that question. Coach, I'm a big Dookie, as you know, that you saw it in the opening, and at Duke Law School and Duke basketball. And Coach K, who I've met 4 or 5 times, has written many books. There's some on my shelves up behind me. And he has a theory called next page. And even though there are things I would have done differently in my life, choices I might have made, I don't believe in saying shoulda, woulda, coulda. What does Carrie Bradshaw say on Sex and the City? Ooh, Bobby will watch that show. Of course I watch that show. She always said, don't shoulda all over yourself. Don't shoulda all over yourself. So I really don't think that there's things I'm doing that much differently. Although I will say having gray hair does give you a sense of wisdom, and it makes us smarter and hopefully make better choices. But you know what? I still make one mistake a day. But a mistake I didn't make today was allowing you to be the co-host on my show. You are lovely, wonderful, and adorable, and those are only the beginning of your traits. So thank you for being co-host today. We'll have you back on the show soon. And in terms of taking a chance, like we talked at the start of the show, how we first met, when you say, Bob, you didn't know my name, would you please watch my bag to the airport? What? And we've been friends now for, it's like 13 years, Michele. In any event,
some of those micro moments, and you're an amazing human, and you're always looking to help people. So you have redeeming qualities that everyone can learn from. And I'm just happy to be in your circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Michele Phillips. This has been Bob O'Potsner. I stand for the rule of law, and this has been the lovely, brilliant Michele Phillips. Welcome to and goodbye from the Bobby O Show.